right, what's going on, y'all? So today I'm going to be talking about my current TRT protocol. I'm going to talk about my dose, how I inject, kind of what the plans are moving forward and all that. This is a very, very highly requested video. Since I retired from pro bodybuilding a year and a half ago, this is a question I've gotten from y'all a lot. I've not really talked about my exact doses and how I like to inject all that. So today I'm going to be talking about the dose I'm on, how I inject to make this as painless and seamless as possible. And then, what my plans are, why I'm injecting, what I'm injecting, and all of that. So, as y'all know, a year and a half ago, I retired from pro bodybuilding. I had been doing that for about 5 years, obviously during that time, cycling PDs. And when I retired, I decided, I was no longer going to do another proper cycle. And so during the time, I went to endurance running, got injured from that and found out that, I wasn't really vibing with endurance running like I used to back in the day before pro bodybuilding. So it's kind of the journey trying to find out, what training style I really aligned with. So I went back and forth between, just pure bodybuilding, my high intensity bodybuilding I've always done, to, now what I'm doing and what I've been doing for quite a while now and absolutely love is more of power building with functionality in there. So power building, with a focus on building strength while holding a decent physique while also adding in functionality and just, still taking myself into pain caves and doing some hard training. And that's kind of my whole focus now. My focus now is health, vitality, longevity with still challenging myself physically on an almost daily basis. I'm not training as many training days as I used to. And that's part of, the whole health approach and all of that. But I'm still throwing myself into some deep pain caves on a daily basis, as you all have seen with, a lot of my last training videos. So when I retired from pro bodybuilding, decided to stop cycling, I came down to, I want to say it was in between 175 milligrams a week to 210 milligrams a week of testosterone, test and anything. And, I stayed in that range pretty much the whole time with running. So literally the entire time with running, people were thinking, you got to imagine, I retired at 260 pounds. Started running almost immediately after that. Got down to, I want to say 225-ish before I got injured from running. During that entire time, everybody thought I was running a legitimate cycle. I'm telling you guys, when I was running, it was anywhere between 175 milligrams a week to 210 milligrams a week with some growth hormone in place. And I had growth hormone at anywhere from 3 IUs a day to 4 IUs a day. And I'm telling you guys, if you have your training locked in, you're going to hold size. It's not like if you stop cycling, as long as you stay on TRT, and we'll talk about this later in the video too, you're going to hold a good bit of your size. Yes, you are going to lose some of the fullness, you're going to lose some of the strength, but my estimate is, if you have really good dense muscle density, muscle maturity, you're going to hold 75 to 80% of your gains. Really, if you make sure you're holding your strength numbers, and that's kind of the big thing here. If you're managing your volume, managing your intensity, and holding your strength numbers, you're going to hold a lot of your tissue when you stop. Now, over time, the long period of time you're on TRT, that you've not been cycling, if you were to never cycle, do a proper cycle again, yes, you will come down. You won't ever go back to what you were your natural limit. You've run things like growth hormone, you're on TRT, which exogenous testosterone, even if you have the same total testosterone as a natural guy, let's say you're at 500 total test, running TRT, you're gonna have more tissue than a natural guy at 500 test, because he's having these peaks and troughs. His test is varying based off of his cortisol levels, how much sleep he gets, all of this. You're holding a stable level. You've got a leg up on TRT. You can take that either good or bad. My point is everybody thought I was running a proper cycle. I legitimately was on 175 to 210 milligrams a week. Now, after I got done, there was one stint where I did add in a little bit of mastron. I want to say I bumped up my test to about 240 milligrams a week. And I had it in, I want to say, around 200 milligrams of mastron. So TRT plus, slightly above TRT plus. It was a small cycle. I did that probably right about a year ago. And that was the last time I ran another compound outside of test. And if y'all have seen, I've gone through a big spiritual journey, rededicated my life to Christ, and became an Orthodox Christian. And with that, I really locked into, there's just no reason for me to essentially damage my health, even in a small amount. Even running slightly above TRT plus doses of test with something like Mastron, which for the most part, Mastron doesn't have that big of a deleterious effect on my blood work, I would still see the hit on my blood work. I'd still see my blood pressures go up a little bit, even though I had it controlled. So I made the decision, not to ever do that again. So ever since then, I had been playing at 175 milligrams a week of test. So for the last year, I've been at 175 milligrams of test. And then over the last few months, I've actually tapered that down. Over the last few months, I've been anywhere from between 120 milligrams a week to 157.25 milligrams a week. And I'll get to why it's, kind of a weird dose. But my current dose right now, what I'm on, is I'm on test and Anthe, test E, at 157.25, so 157 milligrams per week. And like I said, I've been between 120 and 157. I've been trying to find, my blood work for most of it has been pretty solid. The only thing I've got to really always figure out is my lipids, and my lipids have been getting better. But I have been able to bring my blood pressure down to a great level again with a low resting heart rate of anywhere between like 44 to 50 beats per minute. And I've got my blood pressure now with my TRT, no AI or anything, at, around 110/60-ish. So I've been able to do that by, bringing my TRT dose down. With that, I'm not as big as I used to be. Right now I'm playing between like 210 to 215 pounds at 5'8". So I'm nowhere near as big as I used to be. And I know if I was to jump my test up to say 200 milligrams a week right now, a lot of weight would come back, obviously not like a cycle, but some weight would come back. But that's not the goal anymore. So I've been on 157 milligrams of test a week, down to 120. I never got blood work done at the 120. I wish I would have now, because moving forward, what the goals are. Well, before I get into the goals, I'll talk about how I inject. So I've always, through the entire time of me competing, the 5 years, always done every other day injections. Besides the few instances in the contest prep I did every day injections, I've always done every other day injections, whether that was cycling a full cycle, whether that was me cruising on TRT. For the last year and a half since I've been retired, it's always been every other day injections, with the exception of over the last 6 to 9 months, I've been playing with everyday injections sub-Q. So I'd always done intramuscular injections, and obviously sub-Q became pretty popular. And obviously, the more frequent your injections, the better. The more you're going to have stable blood levels. You're not going to have peaks and troughs, all of that. And, that's why I did every other day injections. And so I went over to sub-Q every day. What I found though quickly is, I had never had a problem with intramuscular injections. Sub-Q I was doing right into the belly fat, and it was leaving extremely painful lumps that were taking a long time to dissipate. And I'll get into, how I was doing it wrong in just a second, but that's what I was doing. So what I ended up switching to is same thing. It's technically sub-Q. I'm using a 29 gauge half-inch needle, so it's an insulin pen. But it's a shallow IM. So essentially I'm doing it into the same injection sites I would have done with intramuscular. So that's, ventroglute, glute. I don't ever really do quad, and I don't do delts. So it really is kind of those 4 sites, but with an insulin pen with the small amount of liquid I'm injecting, those 4 sites are plenty, to be frank. So what I'm doing is this shallow is shallow IM. It's technically sub-Q, shallow IM. I'm basically, instead of grabbing the fat, I'm going in with a half-inch as much as I can, and injecting with an insulin pen. Now, I've always used Testy. Now, I had a test propionate vial left over, so what it's been doing is I've been able to extend, basically, by me splitting my TRT between Testy and Test P right now, I'm just trying to use up this last vial of Test P, and it's extending my Testy I've got. So what I'm doing is I'm injecting 0.05 milliliters a day of testy, and that vial's at a 250 milligram per milliliter. And then I'm injecting, and so I believe the weekly dose of that comes out to 87 and a half milligrams a week of the testy, and then I'm injecting 0.10 milliliters or 10 milligrams of test P per day, so 70 milligrams. So that's how I'm getting the 157, I guess it's 157.5 milligrams a week of test. Now, this usually has my test with blood work between about 700 to 900 total tests. Now, I did a round of blood work this morning, and then the whole reason why I've been playing with lower doses and why, besides the health effect, why I'm planning on this being the max dose I'm going to run for a while, if not come down or potentially even come off, is because right now fertility is our main goal. So I did my first semen analysis test this morning as well. So I should have the results back on both of those by the end of the week. I'm very curious to see where that is. But right now, with the 157.5 milligrams of test a week, I'm running 1,250 IUs of HCG every other day. So that's what I'm starting for the fertility protocol. I started that a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to run that for three months. Not changing the test, not changing the HCG, unless the blood work, my test just comes back too high. The thing is, HCG will bump your total test a little bit. And, I don't run AIs, and I don't want to have high estrogen. So if it comes back that my total test is too high or my estrogen's too high, I'll end up lowering the testosterone a little bit. I've come down to 120 and felt great. And so, I would absolutely do that if one of those came back. But I'm not, with how I feel right now, I feel pretty dialed in. I'm thinking it's going to come back pretty solid, and I'll be at the kind of the upper end of the test range. So I'll keep y'all posted on that. But barring anything needs to be changed with that, I'm going to stick here for 3 months and then reassess blood work and my semen analysis and see if there's an improvement in sperm quality and fertility parameters. And if there's not, then what I'm going to need to do is add in HMG, and then to increase FSH, and then I'm going to also have to probably lower tests from there. And I'll do that for another 3 months. And the plan is if after 6 months we've not conceived and sperm parameters frankly haven't come up, then I might have to go ahead and PCT off of tests for a bit. This is just kind of the name of the game. If you've been someone who has been enhanced for a while, and you cycled steroids and you didn't run HCG along the way, you've been on TRT for a while, they make it seem like, it's no big deal and you won't lose your fertility and all that. Yes, you can typically, for the most part, get your fertility back. But it's not always the quickest and easiest process, and it can cost some money. So that's the whole goal right now. The whole goal right now is fertility, us conceiving, and along with health. I don't ever plan to cycle steroids again. I have no performance or physique goals related to that. I love the training I do now. I'm able to hold a relatively high level of performance. I still am very happy with how my physique sits. And the whole goal is now, guys, is health. And it's, I want to be healthy for myself, but I also want to be healthy for my wife and hopefully future kids. So the goal right now is fertility. And that's why, the test is right now 157. And frankly, guys, I feel great here. So, even if we were to conceive tomorrow, I would probably honestly stay here at 157, especially where it's got my total T. But it might be lowering a little bit from here, but that's been kind of what I've been up to the last year and a half with my test. And I'm telling you guys, if you have your training dialed in, you have your diet dialed in, you can do a lot less than what you think. All these guys running these TRT protocols of 200, 250. That's what I did when I was cycling PDs. I would cruise at anywhere from 200, and then I did one cruise at around 250. And I just thought that's what you had to do. And I'm telling you guys, after the last year and a half of me, for the most part, being around 175 milligrams a week, and then now for the last good bit being under 175 milligrams a week, you just don't need to use it as much of a crutch as what you think. As long as you have your test at a good spot, you feel great. You know, and you have your recovery dialed in. You're gonna be holding a lot more than what you think. I talk to so many guys that they think they have to run 200 or 200 plus, and it's not the case. I was there too. You know, I thought I had to be running more than what I have been. And I feel so much better on so much less. You hold less water, you hold less inflammation. Blood pressure is always in a great spot. Blood sugar is always in a great spot. Health markers are always coming back solid. So, you know, I would advise you that, you know, if you are a TRT for life guy, and you know, that's the thing, you know, I did contemplate coming off. You know, I'm 32 years old, about to be 33 before too long. I did contemplate coming off and seeing if I could regain natural test. You know, you know, to be frank, I've done so much research into the fertility side, it probably wouldn't even speed things up for fertility. But I might have to go that route. You know, I'm hoping I don't, but I might have to go that route, you know, if after 6 months we don't conceive. But, you know, there's just the odds of me recovering at this point are just slim enough that I don't want to jump the gun on that. And I feel so much better where I'm at right now. I feel healthy. My blood work's healthy, and all of that. So, you know, I am kind of TRT for life, you know, but it doesn't have to be high TRT or anything like that. So this is what I've been up to. I hope you guys got some value out of this. To kind of recap, I'm on 157.5 milligrams of test per week, split between test D and test P. I inject sub-Q or shallow IM every day with a 29 gauge insulin pen, half-inch insulin pen. And then the whole goal right now is health and fertility. And I don't have goals of, or you know, I will not be going back on a proper cycle again. It's just not something I'm going to do. But, you know, that's where I'm at, performing great along with you know, what I'm running. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you aren't already. God bless y'all and have a great rest of your day.